All right, parents, time to move the little ones out of the room just for about 10 minutes or so when we have this conversation with our guests this morning. So if you're sitting with your little one, just be aware that this one has got a little bit of adult content because a new adult-only e-TV drama, The Black Door, is set to stream or steam up our screens. It takes viewers into the lives of sex workers, and it's going to be sexy as well as risque. But the series will also be informative. The cast includes Linda Sebezo in the leading role of Rebecca, Mzamo Gabashe, and Sandile Mfusi. So to tell us more about this new drama, executive producer Mpumelelo Nhlapo, as well as creative director Mandla Ngcongwane, joins us in the studio for this conversation. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time this morning. Risque and sexy is the way that they're describing The Black Door. But maybe let's start off with you as well, Mpumelelo, that it is certainly moving audiences on beyond the boundaries, and it's pushing the narrative a little bit around what we can do, especially in television, and growing the television audience in the way that they receive film and television series. But talk to us a little bit about The Black Door. What is it all about? Already it sounds very dodgy by saying The Black Door.
The Black Door.
The Black Door.
It's a story about things that are happening every day in South Africa. You know, we believe that a lot of the time we are, conservative in our storytelling.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. You know, it's a lot of family viewing and things like that on television that happens. So we felt that, with this late night slot, we could push the envelope a little bit and tell the lives of how do people actually end up becoming sex workers. What is their family situation? Because these are people that are from our communities. These are people that we all know, that we live with every day. They're in our churches, they're in our communities and so forth. Yeah. So it's basically just a story of a young man who had a dream, and his dream got derailed. So Uzamani Bata plays that character. His dream gets derailed, and he finds himself in a very different world that he had never expected, while he still tries to pursue his dream.
Sure.
And obviously then coming into the Black Door world, will he be swallowed by this world, or will he still be able to pursue that dream that he had from the beginning? And that is a universal story, I think, that you'll find in many cases when you speak to people who are working in that world.
Yeah, Mandla, as it says, there's so many themes that get questioned when it comes to this one, right? So sex working, a lot of times, and maybe it's our conservative nature in South Africa, is that we almost attribute it all the time to women. We never move the narrative and go, hold on a second, a sex worker can be a man as well, right? And what does that life actually look like? Let's just expound a little bit about these types of characters, as well as some of the themes that you're tackling and how it speaks to even the way we've perceived society over time.
I mean, if you look at South Africa today, we're living in a global village, with the rise of social media, there's a lot of things that people share, obviously on the WhatsApp groups and all sorts of things, but we've never kind of, showcased that on the TV space. And when it comes to, life today, you hear things like, people go and get the bag from Dubai. You get guys that are like, what, I'm dating, sugar mamas these days, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what we do is we basically explore that side. And also, as well, it's always been like, a man's needs need to be taken care of. A brothel is a man's space, gentleman's club and things like that. But now women these days have got their own money. They basically have sexual freedom. They want to also, pleasure themselves. And where do they go? Mom Rebecca has got the perfect spot for that, and that is the Black Door.
Sure. And it does tackle again around societal realities and how we know that it's happening, but we don't like speaking about it's happening, less it's what's going to do to our even connotations of what South Africa actually looks like. Without giving too much about what we are going to be expecting away, but what can audiences actually walk away with after having viewed the series?
I mean, certainly there's a story, so there is a narrative that we are telling. So there is a story, as I said, about a dream. There's a story of family. There's a story of community, of ambition. There's business. So there's all sorts of stories that we're telling. But fundamentally, we want to make sure that, this world that is considered an underworld of sex workers is unraveled. So you must also expect to see things that we hear about. Like Mandla just mentioned, what happens when you go get the bag in Dubai. What happens to a middle-aged woman who's divorced and can't get a man? How does she then find
How does she make the call?
How does she make the call? You know what I mean? What happens at the bridal showers, for example? So we want to explore all those topics, but obviously in an entertaining way, in a way that hasn't been done before. I think I mentioned to one of your colleagues the fact that, we've really put everything into this show. So from a production value, from a cinema, from a filmmaking point of view, we've pushed the envelope there as well. So it's not only from a story point of view that I think we want to break boundaries, but also just in terms of telenovela filmmaking, cinema. We've really pushed the envelope there as well.
Yeah, but it also forces us as society as well to mature in our viewership and the way that we receive content, that it cannot be one-dimensional, and it cannot be a dimension where we're afraid of even tackling some of those issues simply because we're afraid of, ruining the South African picture, so as it were, right? But I want us to expound a little bit about some of the characters that we can expect to see within the telenovela. Or do we even call it a telenovela? It's a series. It's within the series that it's in itself. But what can we expect?
I mean, it is a telenovela, you know what I mean, because it plays every day. It's daily viewing, from Monday to Friday, 9:30. So the nice thing about living, obviously, at 9:30, it means you can go a little bit risque. You get what I'm saying? And in terms of the characters that we have within the show, you've got Mom Rebecca, who's kind of like, the ultimate antagonist. She is basically running the entire empire, and she has trapped Kaya. And this is the young man, kind of like, think of a Jimmy Comes to Josie.
Okay.
But obviously it's set in Mpumelelo, so it's a Jimmy comes to Mpumelelo and gets trapped into this black door world. And then we always have kind of like the comedic characters such as Shotgun, who works within the black door, you understand? And it is a house of pleasures, so obviously you've got
you're going to see all different kinds
tall,
of things.
dark, little people, big, everything is there. It's a house of pleasures, and that's what obviously, we see that type of television when it comes to overseas.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I mean, if you look at Euphoria season 2, it's something else, So what we're doing is we're basically saying we're already watching it from an international side of things. Let's set trends in South Africa and basically, produce it this side. And thanks to ETV, they gave us the opportunity to say, you know what, take us to the BCCSA every day.
Oh, is that what you're planning on doing with this one? We're all going to go to the BCCSA every day. But are you, let's expound on this. Are you expecting audiences to have a little bit of a shock and horror at first? Because again, remember what we're saying here. You're saying that you're pushing the envelope in terms of how we receive and consume content in this country.
Yes.
So is there a way that when you're sitting down in your creative spaces, you're going, listen guys, so come Friday night, we all know we're going to be taken to the BCSA and all we're going to do is say, we apologize, let's move on. Is there like a little bit of space that's been made for how we're going to receive this?
Certainly, we need to make sure that we are not shortchanging the show.
Yeah.
So we always, even now when we're walking, and Mandla and myself are going, okay, have we really pushed boundaries here? Or has the audience seen this? Because remember, this is free to air, daily viewing television. So this is not like, sitting behind a paywall or anything like that. So we definitely want to shock the audience, but not horror. Do you get what I mean? So we don't want to take it to an extent where people can't consume it on a daily basis, where they're like, this is too much.
This is too much, yeah.
Yeah, so we're playing a fine line between making sure the story's solid, but that we give them a little bit of skin, we give them a bit of risque, we give them a bit of that world, because that's the DNA of the show at the end of the day. In fact, I read on ETV's Facebook page, someone was like, oh, glad ETV's bringing back Emmanuel.
I know, it's so funny. My colleague, Morena, was saying the same thing. He was like, oh, this is such exciting news. Morena, it's not Emmanuel, darling. It is not Emmanuel. It's called the Black Door. But he was like, what? Emmanuel is coming back? And I was like, no, this is not what we do. But it does speak a lot to audiences being able to kind of to receive content in any way that they can, right? To take the content and make of it as it will. Because just because we're not talking about it, it does not mean that it's not happening.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, gentlemen. So it certainly has going to be an interesting one. When does it play? What can we expect? Times? Is it an hour? Is it 30 minutes? What are we looking at?
Well, basically, it's a daily viewing, which means every single day, Monday to Friday, 9:30, and it's 30 minutes.
30 minutes, 9:30, and every time ETV viewers are going to go, for 30 minutes every single day.
Yeah.
Every single day.
So immediately after Imbewu, so Imbewu is at 9, so they mustn't stop. Immediately after Imbewu, make sure the kids off to bed, everything, and then settle in with a nice cup of tea for some adult entertainment.
I'm thinking you're going to need something stronger than tea to be able to handle some of that that you guys are going to be bringing in. I don't know about the tea stuff, but it certainly is. It is the Black Door, of course, that you can expect it there from later on this
Monday. This coming Monday, yes.
This coming Monday, 9:30. Do not miss it. It is on ETV, which which means that you get to enjoy it for your viewing pleasure, follow the life really of such of the characters, where we've got the likes of Kaya, who gets trapped behind the black door, and all about showing what does it mean to be a sex worker in the South African context. I guess here, Mpumelelo Nhlapo, as well as Mandla Ngcongwane, who was just giving us the latest details on that. Catch it on Monday, only on ETV.